then 255 with the subnet mask .255.255.252. then you type no shutdown to turn on the interface. So you can see my interface has turned to green, so it means it's working fine now. So then the second interface, the other interface here, so facing the third router, so it's G0/1. so let's assign an IP address to that guy too. Interface G0/1, then IP address 192.168.1.5. that's the first assigning IP address. Then 255.255.255.252, that's CIDR 30, that's 252. then you hit enter, then type no shutdown to turn on the interface. Then the last interface on this router connecting to the LAN, so which is 172.168 IP address. Let's assign an IP address to that interface too. Then IP address, let's name the interface first. Interface G0/2, then IP address 172.16.30.1, then subnet mask 255.255.255.0, because this is CIDR 24, that is the slash notation is 24. Then you hit enter, then type to turn on the interface, type no shutdown. So we've turned on the interface. So let's save the configuration. So let's save our configuration now. So do right, because I'm in configuration or config if mode. So I will use do right or do copy run start. Don't forget. So you hit enter. So I've saved my configuration now. So let's go to the third router. So the third router, let's enter the CLI. So no for this guy, then enable to privilege mode, config T to configuration mode, then host name, let's give a name to our router, which is router 3. This is router 3, right? So let's enter the interface. Let's assign an IP address to the interface. So this is G0/0, then G0/1, right? So let's go back. So let's enter the interface by typing interface G0/0, then IP address 192.168.1.6. so that's the second assignable IP address on this network, the 1.4 network. Then the subnet mask, which is /13, 255.255.255.252. then you turn on the interface by using the command no shutdown. So that interface is up and running now. So then the second interface on this router, interface G0/1, then IP address 172.16.31.1, then 255.255.255.55.0. then you hit enter. Then to turn on the interface, type the command no shutdown. So let me save my configuration, do right. So we are through with the interface configuration now. So let's now test the connectivity between the three routers. So let me start from the router 1. Let me start from router 1 here. So by pinging the third router by using ping 192.168.1.6. so I want to ping this the interface connected to router 3. So let me hit enter. You can see it's sending a traffic. So let's see if there will be a connectivity between the two routers, but I guess there won't be any connectivity because router 1 doesn't know router 3 exists. So for router 1 to be able to communicate with router 3, this is when IP routing now comes in. So let's ping to router 2 also. So let's see 1. So that should be 1.2, right? So you can see there is connectivity because they are neighbor and they are neighbor. So that's why there is connectivity. Let's ping again. The first packet, it will drop that. So let's see. So it's now, you can see it's now 100%. So there is connectivity between router 1 and 2, but there is no connectivity between router 1 and 3. So let's go to router 2 and text. Maybe there is connectivity between router 2 and 3. So let's check that to be very sure. So ping 192.168.1.6. so let's see. So you can see there is connectivity. So the first packet is to drop it because of the echo message. So let's try and ping it again for us to have 100% connectivity. So you can see it's fine. There is communication between the two, router 2 and router 3. So let's now test from router 3 to 1 and see maybe there will be any connection. Okay, so ping 192.168.1.1. so let's see. You can see there is no communication between router 3 and router 1. So let's now go into router 1. Let's make the 3 routers to be communicating with each other. So for us to do that, this is where IP routing now comes in. So by using, we want to use, for this demo, we are using static routing. So let's go to router 1. Let's tell router 1 that whenever there is traffic to router 3, this should be the exit interface to forward the packets to. So the neighbor, this is the neighbor for router 1. So whenever there is a packet going to router 3, this will be the exit interface, or next up. We call it next up. So let's try and advertise this network to router 1. So by letting router 1 to be aware of this IP address, then router 3 also to be aware of this network here, then router 2 to be aware of this network that is here and the network that is here. So let's jump into it now. So click on, let's start from router 1. So for us to configure static routing, so we are making use of the network we want to advertise, then the subnet subnet mask, then the next up address. So there is an interesting thing here too. We can configure both static and dynamic on in the same topology, but for this demo we are using static routing. So let's get started. So let's go to configuration mode, config T. So the command to start with static routing, we use IP route, then you name your network. So I want to start with this 172 network. So I'm starting with 172.16.31.0, right? Then the subnet mask, which is 255.255.255.0. then the next up, let me expand it. So the next up address will be, so whenever there is any traffic, where do I want the router to forward the traffic to? So I want this to be should be the exit interface. So where to forward the packet to whenever it's going to this particular network. So this should be the exit interface. So the exit interface address is 192.168.1.2. so you hit enter. So that particular routing has been saved. So then let's go to the second one, which is 1.4. let's say IP route, sorry. So 192.168.1.4, that's the IP address. Then the subnet mask 255.255.255.252. then the next up, still the same next up address. So 192.168.1.2. So let me now save the routing. Let me save the configuration. So do right. So I've advertised these two particular network here now. So whenever this router want to go to this guy, this network here, so it will use this exit interface to forward the packet. So for router 1, the configuration of router 1 has been done. Then there is another IP address too. There is another IP address we need to advertise. You know, router 1 doesn't know where to forward the packet to this IP address too. So let's configure for this IP address. So we are advertising 3 network, which is 1, 2 and 3. So let's advertise the last IP address. So IP route, then 172.16.30.0, then 255, the subnet mask 255.255.0, then the next up 192, still the same next up, .168.1.2. so a router that has only one entry and one exit, we call it a stub router. So a stub router is a router that only has one entry and one exit. So in this you can see this router now. I can say my router 1 is a stub router, then my router 32 is a stub router, because they only have one entry and one exit. So let's now advertise for router 2. So for router 2, the network to advertise is we only have two routers, two network to advertise. So we are advertising 172 here, then we are advertising 172 here too. So let's now go to router 2 and start the configuration. So let me start with the one at router 3. So let me go to configuration mode, config T, then IP route, then 172. I want to advertise for this network .168.31.0, then the subnet mask for this IP address, then 255, then 255.255.0. Then the exit interface. What will be the exit interface for this router 2? So the exit interface for this router 2 should be 1.6, because this is both are connected with each other. So this should be the exit interface. So this is the neighbor of router 2 and this is the neighbor of router 3. So this for this router 2, so this should be the exit interface to route a packet to this particular network. So this will be the forwarded interface. So let's go back and put the forwarded interface there. So let's expand this. So the next up address should be 192.168.1.6, right? So that particular IP address is on that interface is 192.168.1.6. so you hit enter. Then for the second IP address, so you know we want to advertise these two to router 2. So the next up address for this particular interface should be .1 here, because it has formed a neighborship with router 1. So and the neighbor should be 192. The interface on the neighbor, the IP address on the neighbor interface is 192.168.1.1. so this is the next up IP address. So let's go back and put it there. So let's advertise the third route, the second IP address. So IP route 172.16.20.0, then the next the subnet mask 255.255.255.0, then the next up 192.168.1.1. so you hit enter to save that configuration. So do right to save our configuration. Exit. So I've advertised the IP address, some IP address to router 1 and router 2. So let's now advertise to router 3 and see. So after that we now test the connectivity between our network. So let's go to router 3. So we are advertising 3 network. This is network 1, network 2 and network 3. So let's start that. So go to router 3. So let's go to configuration mode, config T, then IP route So I'm starting with this 192. I'm starting with this 172.16.30.0. So IP route, so 172.16.30.0, then 255, the subnet mark .255.255.0, because it's CIDR 24. Then the next up should be, so the next up here is this guy. So because it forms neighborship with router 2, you see. So and the IP address on this router 2 interface is 192.168.1.5. so let's now specify that. So the the next up IP address is 192.168.1.5. so you hit enter. So I've advertised that. Then let's advertise the second IP address here. So I'm advertising 192.168.1.30. 1.0. Then IP route 192.168.1.0. then 255.255.255.252, because it's a CIDR 30. So then the next up should be 192.168.1.5. so don't forget, this is our exit interface, right? Sorry. So this is our exit interface here. So it's 1.5. so then you hit enter. So we've advertised that too. Then let's go to the last one. Let's advertise the last IP address. So we can use our up and down arrow to do that. So but sometimes you might make mistake, but it's very good to be very good to be careful. So whenever you are making use of your up and down arrow key. So I've pressed my up arrow key now. So you can see I'm advertising 172. So let me go to the IP address. So let me change this guy to 7, then 16, clean this, then 20, right? 20, then .0, then 255.255.2.0, right? Then the next up is still the same next up IP address. Then you hit enter. So let's save the configuration. So let's now see our routing table. Let's check our routing table. So the command is to check our routing table. The command is show, though it depends on the configuration, or it depends on the mode you have. Maybe you are on a global mode or you are on privilege mode. So I'm on privilege mode now, so I will just use show IP route. But assuming you are on global mode, you type do show IP route. So let me show my routing table now. So you can see the network that has been advertised to router. I'm on router 3. So you can see, so it has learned this IP address 172.16.0.20.0 through this exit interface. You see this interface, that exit interface, the one we specify during the configuration. So you can see static. You can see static here. You can see static here. So let's see how many IP addresses has it learned. So it has learned 3 IP addresses. So you can see that. So it means our routing configuration is it's fine. So let's go to router 2 and check the routing table also. So let's go to router, then show IP route. So let's see how many IP address has it learned. So it has learned 2 IP address. So this is 172.16.20.0/24. You can see via this the neighbor interface of router 1. You can see this one too. The second IP address you can see via the interface on router 3. So 172.16. So 172.168. Oh, there is a mistake. There is a mistake because this IP address is wrong. You can see 172.168.31.0. So we don't have anything like 172.168.31.0/24. So let's try to correct that. Let's try and correct that. So let's go back and do the configuration again. Config t, then IP route, then 172.16.31, right, .0, then 255.255.255.0, right, then the next up 192.168.1.6, right. So do right. So let's see the configuration. So let's see our routing table again. Do show IP route. So you can see it has, okay, 172. So okay, so it has not correct that. Okay, this is 172.16.20.0, then 172.16.31.0/24. it has learned that. Then 172.168. So let's remove this IP address. Let's remove this. So let's remove that. So let's go back and say no. Okay, let's use the up and down arrow key. So let's try and see where the configuration error is. So this is the error. So let's just try. So to erase the configuration, just type no, then no IP route on that particular IP address. So just do right to save the configuration. So let's see the routing table again. Do show IP route. So you can see it has removed that. So you can see we only have this, right, 172.16.20.0, then 172.16.31.0. So I think the configuration is fine now. So let's go to router 1 and see the configuration on the routing table. Let's see the routing table on router 1. So enable, then show IP route. So you can see we have 3 IP address too. This is 2 here. You can see this guy. So 172.16.30.0, 172.16.31.0, then 192.168.1.4. So let's now test the connectivity between the 3 routers. So I'll ping from router 1, I'll ping router 3 interface. So ping 192.168.1.6. sorry, so Control Shift 6 to do that. So ping 192.168.1.6. so you can see there is connectivity between router 1 and router 3, but before when we tried to ping, so it was telling us that there was no routing, or there was no route to that particular router. So but now there is 100% route or connectivity between router 1 and router 3. So let's try to ping router 2 interface connected to router 3. So let's try that. 91.5. So you can see the echo message, you can see the response. So it's 100% by its ICMP echo to 192.168.1.5. So you can see that the reply is 100%. So let's now try to ping from our PCs. So let's assign an IP address to our PC to text. Maybe there will be a connectivity between PC 1 here to laptop 0 here. So let's try and assign an IP address. So because we are doing static routing here, so we don't need to do any DHCP configuration. So but in my next video I will try to configure, I will show you how to configure DHCP. So let's go there and configure the IP address. So let's say give this guy 192, sorry, so the IP address connected to this guy is 172.1.16.20.2. so let's give it 2 because the gateway is .1. so let's go to subnet mask 255.255.0, 0, then the gateway should be 172.16.20.1. so we don't have any DNS server, so let's just erase this guy. So let's erase that, then save. So let's go to our laptop 3 and give it an IP address also. So go here, then desktop, click on IP configuration, then let's see 172.16.31.2, then the subnet mask 255.255.255, because this is a class B IP address, but we've subnetted this, so I have to use 255.255.255.0 because it's CIDR. We gave it CIDR 24. So and we are working on the third octet. So let's give it the gateway 172.168.16.31.1. so that's the default gateway. Then let's clean this. There's no DNS server, so close that. So let's try and give this guy to an IP address. So go to desktop, then click IP configuration, then you click on that's 172.16.30.2, then the subnet mask should be 255.255.255.0, then default gateway 2 should be 172.16.30.1. so there is no DHCP server or DNS server, so just clean this, then you exit. So let's try and test the connectivity between the three PC. So you go to your command prompt, then I want to do a continuous pinging, so I'll type ping -t, then the laptop address I want to ping is 172.16.31.2. so let's see that we send an ICMP message, so let's wait for the reply. So you can see the first packet drop because it's trying to reach that particular the first ping would drop because it's trying to broadcast that message, the packet, to all the port. So now that the laptop has responded, so it's trying to there is a connectivity between the two laptop now. So let's try to see route the PC to, let's try to ping to the server. So this is server 0, so Control C. So let's try to ping the server. So ping -t, then 30.2. so let's ping that. So you can see it has dropped the first packet. So you can see there is a 100% connectivity between our network topology. So this is where guys, this is where I'm going to draw my curtain. So see you guys in the next video. Make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and make sure you hit on the notification bar for you to be notified on the future video. Thank you very much. Love you guys.